Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be going through my ongoing series for 2023. So these are the open series that I have started. Some of them I started this year in 2022, some of them I started last year, some of them I started before that and just have taken a really long time to get to, but they are all series that I still consider open on my TBR. They're series that I have not DNF'd, that I want to continue with or wrap up or finish, etc. And I am looking forward to reading more from in 2023. There are some really long series on here. I can't promise that I'm going to get through them all in 2023, but I really want to make progress on all of them. And I did fairly well with that this year in 2022, so I'll do a yearly wrap up at the end of the year, but I did do a fairly good job of at least reading something from each of the series that I have ongoing. I don't know if I managed to read something from every single one, but most of them. And there were a few that I was able to finish off, to complete, shade in all of those boxes in my reading journal. And that's such a good feeling. So I will continue along with this challenge in 2023. And this is a list of I think there's 15. So I think I have 15 ongoing series. I have them all here on my little cue card so I don't forget them for 2023. And the very first one is The Realm of the Elderlings. So last year, I was also reading The Realm of the Elderlings, and I was at the Live Ship Traders trilogy. So I am part of the way through Ship of Destiny as of the recording of this video, and it will be finished before the end of 2022. So I will be starting off in 2023 with the Tawny Man trilogy, and I am really looking forward to getting back to Fitz. I really want to read that section of The Realm of the Elderlings. I don't know if I will continue on past those books in 2023 because, to be honest, they're long books. I love them, but they can be draining. You have to be ready. You have to be prepared to get into them. And I am ready and I am prepared, but I also don't want to set myself up for failure. So I don't know that I'm going to make my way through the entire Realm of the Elderlings in 2023, but I will at least read the next trilogy, and who knows what will happen beyond that. After that, we have Malazan. So this was one of my high priority series for 2022. When I first started it, I had really lofty goals. I thought I was going to read a book every 2 months, that I was going to make my way through kind of slow and steady like that. And it just didn't work out. Despite the fact that I really, really liked Gardens of the Moon, I thought that it was very enjoyable. It was a lot less scary than I thought it was going to be. Like the intimidation that I had going into the series and the fears that I had built up going into the series did not play out at all. It was just a very enjoyable book. There was definitely a lot to discuss. It was dense. It was, there were a lot of things happening. There was no hand holding as you make your way through, but overall I really, really liked it. And it was more accessible than I thought it was going to be. I just didn't continue. The good thing is that it is still very vivid in my mind. I still remember a lot of what I had presumed to be important plot points, and I don't think it will take long for me to get back into that world once I start reading from the series. Again, my tentative goal is to be able to read one of these every 2 months and just make my way through slowly. But I'm not holding myself, hard to that. I do want to continue to make my way through the series. I'm hoping that at some point it might just grab me by the throat, as it seems to do with a lot of people, and then I won't be able to stop reading them. That would be the dream. That would be ideally what happened, but I still am committed to the series. I think there's going to be a lot of fun stuff to talk about and a lot of fun videos to go back and watch from a bunch of my friends. So if for no other reason, I want to be able to go back and see some of the things that other people have created around this series, because it sounds like a lot of really fruitful discussions, a lot of really interesting stuff. So hopefully I can make some progress in Malazan and be able to go and do some of that. Number 3 is the Dagger and Coin series by Daniel Abraham. So I read the first book in this quintet in July, because I read it while I was on vacation this summer. And I loved it. And I had so many reading obligations that I didn't get to continue. And it is the ultimate sadness of 2022 for me, because I loved that first book so much more than I even thought I was going to. I fell in love with Daniel Abraham's writing when I read The Long Price Quartet, And this was more of his classic fantasy series. And I thought, well, I won't go in expecting it to be Long Price Quartet because, down that road leads only disappointment. And so I went in with, I think, like pretty even expectations, and it surpassed them. I really, really loved book one, and I need to continue. I think that this will probably, of all of the ongoing series that I have, this is the one that I really, really want to get to, because unlike Realm of the Elderlings, I'm not in a like natural stopping point. I'm not between trilogies. And I just really want to read it. So very hopeful that I will continue and finish that series next year. After Dagger and Coin is First Law. First Law. Reading Red Country, as everybody who was around last month knows, put me in such a First Law mood. I'm actually listening to the short story collection right now. That's the audiobook that I have going. And I am beyond excited to finish out First Law, to read The Age of Madness. I'm so excited. So I know I just said, like, these videos are just going to be like an exercise in me contradicting myself, because I just said Dagger and Coin was going to be highest priority, but who are we kidding? Like, I am going to dive into the Age of Madness trilogy, and if I love it as much as everybody else seems to love it, I'm sure I will not be able to stop. So that will probably be the highest priority open series that I have right now, but I am really excited to get to it. After that, we have Dune. So Dune was on this list back in last year in 2022 as well, or this year in 2022. And unfortunately, this is one of the ones that I didn't continue on with at all. So I didn't read past the first book, Dune. I have them. I got them for Christmas last year so that I could continue through and read more. And I just haven't. And I'm not sure why. I loved Dune. I loved book one. I think it's just that it felt like a natural stopping point for the series. There was no major cliffhanger. I know that is a book that can function as an open-ended standalone, and I guess that's why I just didn't feel the pressure to continue on with it this year. But I do want to continue to read at least the first 4. That's how many I have. The first 4 Dune books, because I just want to see where he goes with the story, and then any decisions about what to do beyond that, I will leave for future Sarah. After Dune, we had the Seven Waters trilogy by Juliette Marillier. So this is, again, one of the ones that has been on the TBR for the entirety of 2022. Daughter of the Forest was my favorite book from 2021, I believe. And I just loved it, but it does function as a standalone. So this trilogy is an intergenerational trilogy that follows a different cast of characters each time. So there was no like overwhelming push to read this series. And I loved Daughter of the Forest so much that I was content for it to stand as a standalone for as long as it needed to. So I am still going to finish this trilogy. I do want to continue to read more books by Juliette Marillier. It just didn't end up being a very top priority for 2022. After that, we have the God King Chronicles by Mike Brooks. This is one that, in fairness to myself, I would have finished if the audiobook was out. So I listened, this is a trilogy, I listened to the first 2 books on audio, and then unfortunately the audiobook didn't get released in Canada for some reason. I'm assuming it has something to do with licensing and rights, etc., etc. So I have to read this one. I'm going to say by Kindle, because I don't have the first 2 books in paperback, so I don't really want to have just the final book in the trilogy. So I'll pick this one up if I can get it on sale on Kindle, or I'll pick it up from the library and finish out the trilogy in that way. I am really intrigued about what's going to happen next. I feel invested in the characters. I want to know how the series closes, but I just have wanted to do it on audio because that's the way that I did the other 2. And there's just an association thing, I think. Like I know these characters' voices on audio. I like listening to it in that way, but I will read it physically because that is the only option that I have. After that, we have Nevernight. This is Jay Kristoff's series. Really enjoyed the first one. It was a lot of fun. I had not known how I was going to feel about it, and I was pleased to discover that I enjoyed book 1. I am told by my friends that I will probably enjoy the next one even more, and I had been hopeful that I was going to get through this whole series around Halloween time, but again, just lots of commitments, lots of things that I was buddy reading, lots of things that I needed to read. I'm hopeful that I'll get to this one sooner rather than later. And I think these are ones that I could knock out like in a couple of days. So it's not like the trilogy would take a long time to complete. It's just finding the space in the TBR where I want to fit it in. After that, we have 20th Century Boys. So that is an ongoing manga series that I started reading with Petrick, and then I just fell off, and I'm sorry. So I've said sorry to Petrick. I'm sorry to myself. I am really liking it. I was really liking it when I was reading it. I want to continue, and this will be one of my high priority manga series for 2023. So looking forward to figuring out where that story goes. After that, we have the Bloodsworn saga. So this one just has the books 1 and 2 out so far. And I didn't read book 2 when it came out, mostly just because I find John Gwynn's books really bingeable. And when I first discovered him through BookTube, through lots of people who were talking about him, all of his other books had been out. And so I binged through the Banished Lands series so quickly, read through them, love them. I just find his books compulsively readable. Like, they're so easy to flip through. And when book 2 came, I was just thinking, as soon as I finish this, I'm going to want book 3. So I will just save it for a little while. And I just kept saving it and kept saving it. But I do really want to read it. I'm not sure if I'll go back and read book 1 because, like I said, these are really quick books. Like, they're easy to get through. But I have heard, I think that there is like a little synopsis at the beginning of book 2 that refreshes you about what happened in book 1. So we'll see. I might want to read both of them just because they're enjoyable and I might read them back to back. But if not, I will go on and just read book 2 on its own. After that, we have the Winnowing Flame trilogy. So this is one that I had been really confident that I was going to love. It is one of those books that is touted as an underrated gem on BookTube, something that is super enjoyable, kind of a genre blend of horror and fantasy and sci-fi, which I love. Those kind of genre blendy books always remind me of The Gunslinger, which is one of my favorite books. And so whenever I hear that, it's one of those like instant buzzwords for me, and I just want to read it. I knew that there were magical creatures, which is something that I love in a story, female perspectives. I was like, this sounds like it is made for me. So the books were only available in the UK when I wanted to get them. So I ordered the whole trilogy at once. And I honestly found book 1 to be a little bit of a letdown. I did not enjoy it as much as I was hoping. And it really took the wind out of the sails. I was hoping this was going to be a new series, like a new favorite series of all time. It just seemed like something that I was going to love. I did not love book 1, but I do want to continue with the series. It's just that I didn't make it a priority last year. So it is still ongoing. I need to read books 2 and 3, and I will do so. After that, we have the Bear and the Nightingale series. This is one that I started reading off as a group buddy read at the beginning of 2022, and I really liked the first book. That was the one that I was discussing with the group, and I really enjoyed it. I really wanted to go on to books 2 and 3. And I just didn't. I don't know what happened, what I got caught up in reading. And then by the time the winter was over, I thought, oh, that's such a wintry kind of story. And I just never got around to reading it. So I'm hoping it is going to be a wintry story that I finish in 2023. So early 2023 for that one, hopefully. After that, we have another manga series, which is Monster. I'm reading this with Jimmy. I'm about halfway through, and I'm really enjoying it. I thought that I might be able to finish it in December to squeeze this in with my relatively short December TBR, but I don't think that is going to happen. And instead, we will probably finish early in 2023 and then be able to have a discussion about that. So looking forward to continuing on with that series as well. Then we have a series called The Books of Woad. So this is another one that I started back in 2020 that I did not read anything from last year. I only have the 5th and final book left to read. And what this is an alternate history retelling of the story of Robin Hood. And I really, really loved the first 2 books. But after reading books 3 and 4, I wish that books 1 and 2 had been a duology. But I don't want to DNF the series because I really loved the character of Robin and I want to know what happens. It's just I'm dragging my feet on book 5 because I didn't like the way that the series ended out. I don't like the choices that the author made. So I'm stuck in this place where I want to finish it. I don't want to DNF it, but I'm not feeling compelled to read it either. But I'm hopeful that I can get through it in 2023, finish out that series, and kind of tick that one off the list. And then the very last ongoing series that I have is Anne of Green Gables. So this is a classic series. This is not even fantasy adjacent, not even remotely fantasy related. But it is one that took me by complete surprise in 2022. I had never read Anne of Green Gables, which is funny as a young Canadian girl who loved to read, that this is not one that ever came across my plate, but it's just one that I had never gotten to. And I loved it. I listened to the Audible exclusive that was narrated by Rachel McAdams for the first book this year. So good. One of my favorite audiobooks ever. It was a delightful story, and it really made me want to continue and read more about Anne. So I am going to read the rest of the series over the next year or the next couple of years, and I'm hoping to love all of the rest of the books as much as I love that first one. It was so charming. Like, if there was ever a book series or a book that you could describe as charming, Anne of Green Gables, perfect example. But that's it. Those are my open series for 2023. There's more than I would like. Like, that is a lot. I don't know, comparatively speaking to everybody else on BookTube, I'm not sure how many most people have open. I used to be a straight, like, read through a series. For example, I know this gets a lot of hate on BookTube, so no one ever talks about it, but the Sword of Truth series. When I read that series, I read it straight through. Not straight through because not all the books were out, but like however many of them had been out at the time when I started reading them, I read them all just like in a row, no breaks, nothing else. What's a palate cleanser? Who knows? Like, it was just, you start a series, you read through and finish it. And the only time I tend to do that now are those ones that I binge. And they're the ones that tend to be more fast paced and there's big cliffhangers and you get really absorbed in them, like the Great Coats and the Banished Land series. Like, those books I soared through. But the ones that are a little bit more leisurely paced, the ones that you have to take your time with, I don't tend to binge through those anymore. I take breaks. And I would like to turn that around, but I need to catch up before I can do that. Like, I can't start and finish series until I get this list under control. So my goal for 2023 is to make it through those series, and hopefully—
Here's what I found.
My gosh. Siri scared the crap out of me. Anyway, I hope to make it through those series. I really want to see if I'm going to enjoy the endings, and I'm looking forward to like coloring in those little boxes on my reading journal. To be honest, it brings me a lot of satisfaction. So hopefully I will get to do that in 2023. But please let me know how many series you have open. Like, is my 15 a reasonable number? Is it middling? Is it high? I would love to know. Please let me know your high priority series to finish up in 2023, and I will see you with another video soon. Bye!